I took 12 identical tomato plants, gave 6 of them rice water and 6 of them compost tea, kept everything else the same, and watched them for 30 days to see which one really delivers better growth, stronger plants, and more tomatoes. No fancy products, no guessing, just a simple side-by-side test any home gardener can copy. In this video, you'll see the full experiment, the weekly changes, and a clear winner you can actually trust. To keep this fair, I started with one tomato variety, all bought the same day from the same nursery, each plant about 10 inches tall with healthy green leaves and no flowers yet. I planted 6 in one raised bed labeled rice water, and 6 in an identical raised bed labeled compost tea, both filled with the same organic potting mix. Each bed received about 8 hours of direct sun, and the same regular watering schedule using plain water. The only difference in this entire test was the weekly feeding. Rice water on one side, compost tea on the other. Before I poured anything, I measured each plant's height, checked leaf color, and looked at stem thickness so I had a clear baseline. On average, both groups were right around 10 inches tall with medium green foliage, no obvious nutrient issues, and no flowers or fruit yet. I wrote those numbers down so I could track real changes instead of relying on memory. This way, if one method pulled ahead, I would see it clearly in the numbers and not just in my impressions. For the rice water, I used the classic method many gardeners talk about online. I rinsed 1 cup of uncooked white rice in about 3 cups of clean water, stirred it well, then strained out the grains. The cloudy liquid was then diluted at a 1:3 ratio with plain water so it wasn't too strong. Each rice water plant got about 8 ounces of this diluted mix, poured slowly at the base of the plant, directly onto the soil, once a week. I did not spray it on the leaves at any point. For the compost tea, I kept things just as simple. I filled a 5-gallon bucket with water and added about 2 cups of well-finished, sifted compost from a home compost bin. I let that steep for 24 hours, stirring a few times so the microbes had oxygen, then strained out the solids. The resulting tea was diluted at about 1 part compost tea to 10 parts water, so I didn't burn the roots. Each compost tea plant received 8 ounces of this diluted mix poured at the base once a week, just like the rice water group. By day 7, small differences began to show between the two groups. All 12 plants were alive and generally healthy, but the compost tea plants had slightly deeper green leaves and looked a bit fuller overall. 3 of the compost tea plants had started tiny new side branches, while only 1 of the rice water plants showed similar branching. I measured the heights and found the compost tea group averaged just over 11 inches tall, while the rice water group averaged about 10.5. It was not a huge gap yet, but compost tea had a small early lead. I also checked the soil surface around each plant to see if texture or moisture looked different. The rice water bed looked normal. Dark, slightly moist soil with no crusting or visible residue. The compost tea bed looked similar, but when I gently loosened the top half-inch with a trowel, the soil near the compost tea roots felt slightly more crumbly. At this stage, both treatments appeared safe for the plants, with no yellowing leaves or obvious stress from either mixture. That gave me confidence to move forward with the second week of applications. By day 14, the difference was more obvious, especially to the naked eye. The compost tea plants were noticeably taller, averaging about 13 inches, with thicker stems that felt sturdy when gently pinched between 2 fingers. 2 of those plants already had small flower clusters forming at the top, which was earlier than I usually see with this variety. The rice water group had grown too, now averaging around 11.5 inches tall, but they had fewer side branches and no visible flower buds yet. Both groups were healthy, but the compost tea plants clearly looked more vigorous. If you're finding this comparison helpful so far, and you want more real-world, side-by-side tests like this, take a second to click like and subscribe so you don't miss the next experiment I run in this garden. It tells me these honest trials are useful to you, and helps this kind of practical organic gardening content reach more people who need it. During the 3rd week, I continued the exact same routine. Plain water on my normal schedule, and 1 weekly feeding of each treatment at the same measured amount. By day 21, 4 of the compost tea plants had small, marble-sized green tomatoes forming under those early flowers, and all 6 had dense, dark foliage. The rice water plants finally began to pick up, with more noticeable side branching and slightly richer green leaves than before, but they still lagged behind in overall size. On average, compost tea plants were now about 15 inches tall, while the rice water group averaged roughly 13. I also paid close attention to any signs of stress or problems, because stronger growth does not matter if the plants become weak or diseased. None of the plants in either group showed leaf burn, spotting, or drooping that looked like fertilizer damage. The compost tea plants did have slightly more dense foliage, which could trap moisture if overwatered, but with good spacing and airflow they stayed clean. The rice water plants remained tidy and upright, with no sour smell or slime on the soil surface, which tells me the dilution I used was safe for the roots. By day 28, the compost tea plants looked like they were in full stride. Most of them had multiple clusters of green tomatoes at different heights on the stem, and the main stems were thick enough that they needed tying to the stakes to stay upright. Their foliage formed a lush canopy that almost shaded the soil beneath them. The rice water plants finally produced flower clusters of their own, and a few had just started setting very small fruit, but they were about a stage behind. In height, the compost tea group averaged around 17 inches, while the rice water plants averaged about 14.5. At the end of the full 30 days, I stepped back and did a careful side-by-side assessment. I measured height, counted the number of flower clusters, and counted the actual tomatoes forming on each plant, even if they were still green. Across all 6 rice water plants, I saw decent growth, healthy leaves, and a modest start to flowering, with a handful of small fruits here and there. Across the 6 compost tea plants, I saw consistently taller plants, more flower clusters on every stem, and a clearly higher number of developing tomatoes per plant. The difference was no longer subtle. It was easy to see even without a measuring tape. To put numbers to what I saw, I totaled the fruit count for each group. The rice water plants produced a small but promising start, with several plants carrying 2 to 4 early fruits and a few more setting flowers that had not yet turned into tomatoes. The compost tea plants, on the other hand, carried more like 6 to 10 small tomatoes per plant on average, plus multiple new blossoms at the top. That meant roughly double the fruit development in the compost tea group during the same 30-day period. For a home gardener wanting reliable yields, that difference is hard to ignore. What about leaf color and overall plant strength? The rice water plants looked healthy enough at the end of the month, with medium to dark green leaves and only minor lower leaf yellowing on a couple of plants, which is normal as tomatoes grow. The compost tea plants, however, had that rich, deep green color across most of the canopy and noticeably thicker stems from base to top. When I gently moved the stems, the compost tea plants felt more solid and resilient, while the rice water plants felt a bit more flexible and less substantial. Stronger stems matter once the plants are loaded with fruit and dealing with wind. One concern some gardeners have with these homemade liquids is the risk of bad smells or attracting pests. During the entire 30 days, the diluted rice water never developed an offensive odor when I used it fresh, and I avoided letting it sit for more than a day. The compost tea had a mild earthy smell, like wet forest soil, but nothing rotten or overwhelming. I did not notice unusual insect problems in either bed related specifically to the liquids. As long as I used fresh batches and proper dilution, both were comfortable to work with in a small backyard. During the entire 30 days, the diluted rice water never developed an offensive odor when I used it fresh, and I avoided letting it sit for more than a day. The compost tea had a mild earthy smell, like wet forest soil, but nothing rotten or overwhelming. I did not notice unusual insect problems in either bed related specifically to the liquids. As long as I used fresh batches and proper dilution, both were comfortable to work with in a small backyard. So where does that leave rice water? In this test, rice water did not hurt the tomatoes, and it likely provided a mild boost of starches and trace nutrients that soil microbes could use. The plants on the rice water side grew, stayed healthy, and began to flower and set fruit by the end of the month. However, rice water behaved more like a gentle supplement rather than a powerful fertilizer. It might be helpful if you have very limited materials and want to avoid waste in the kitchen, but it did not match the vigor I saw from compost tea under the same conditions. Compost tea, on the other hand, clearly acted like a full-strength organic fertilizer and soil conditioner in this setup. With just one diluted drench per week, the compost tea plants became taller, thicker, and more productive in a short 30-day window. The improved foliage color, stronger stems, and higher fruit count all point to better nutrient availability and more active soil life. For gardeners who already keep a compost pile or use bagged compost, turning a small amount of that material into tea can stretch its benefits much farther than just top dressing. If you are an older gardener trying to decide where to spend your energy, this experiment suggests a clear priority. Compost tea gave more noticeable results in less time, especially for tomatoes, which are heavy feeders. It does require having access to compost, a bucket, and a bit of stirring, but the return in plant strength and early fruit set seems worth that effort. Rice water can still be a simple way to avoid wasting rinsing water, and may offer a gentle nudge to the soil. But if you want those heavy productive vines, compost tea is the method that earned the win in this 30-day test. If you enjoyed seeing a real 30-day test instead of just garden myths, go ahead and like this video, subscribe for more organic trials, and tell me in the comments which experiment you want me to run next in this garden. Your ideas and feedback help me decide which simple, honest comparisons will save you the most time and effort in your own raised beds.